Gotham City's Arkham Asylum is the most famous madhouse in fiction, yet the name belongs to a world much older than the DC universe. The architect of this geography was the writer H.P. Lovecraft, who established the city's grim foundations decades before the first comic books hit the stands. In his stories, Arkham isn't a modern urban center. It's a town anchored in the Miskatonic River Valley, a region of 1920s New England defined by deep atmospheric dread. To find the real Arkham, you have to peel back the layers of pop culture to reveal a place where the primary threat isn't a costumed criminal, but a reality too cold and vast for the human mind to track. Lovecraft didn't rely on a single real-world model for the town. Instead, he stitched it together as a composite of the most unsettling corners of the New England landscape. Much of its identity comes from Salem, Massachusetts. Arkham inherits Salem's 1692 witch trial legacy, physically mirrored in the sagging lines of colonial gambrel roofs that seem to brood over the centuries. There is also the influence of New Haven. Arkham mirrors the presence of Yale University, a hub for elite academia where the weight of Gothic stone buildings matches the density of its rare manuscript collections. This academic facade hides a darker local folklore. Town lore tells of figures like Keziah Mason, who used impossible angles to vanish from her cell, and a persistent rumor that children go missing on Walpurgis Night. Arkham's terror is built on this specific friction, a thin layer of American normalcy attempting to cover an older, more violent history. Miskatonic University functions as the city's intellectual engine. It operates as a bastion of strict scientific materialism, where researchers believe everything can be explained through rational study. The university sponsors massive, hardware-heavy expeditions, like the doomed Antarctic trek in At the Mountains of Madness. These fictional voyages were modeled directly on the actual 1930s polar explorations of men like Richard E. Byrd. That commitment to science eventually leads the faculty to the Orne Library. Its restricted collection serves as the physical point where empirical observation meets information that shouldn't exist. Researchers who access the Book of Eibon, De Vermis Mysteries, or the Necronomicon find their mental foundations literally dissolving. The rigid geometric logic of their world cannot withstand the weight of what these texts reveal. This is the central tragedy of the town. In Arkham, madness isn't born from a lack of intelligence, but from the rigorous academic pursuit of the truth. When those minds inevitably collapse, they are sent to the Arkham Sanitarium. This institution was inspired by the Danvers State Hospital, a looming Gothic facility that dominated the local landscape. The sanitarium remained a niche literary trope until 1974, when DC Comics editor Dennis O'Neil met writer Jack C. Harris for dinner. Harris proposed that Gotham City's rogues gallery had outgrown regular prisons. He argued that the Joker and Two-Face required an insane asylum, and he suggested borrowing the name of Lovecraft's cursed town to house them. The idea was first used in Batman No. 258. That single issue triggered the permanent migration of Arkham from the pages of cosmic horror into the center of mainstream superhero lore. Lovecraft's concept of a psychological quarantine zone provided the exact architectural blueprints needed to contain the most famous villains in pop culture. Arkham eventually moved beyond the page, mutating into an interactive landscape where audiences could experience its geography for themselves. Through games like Call of Cthulhu, the RPG community turned vague descriptions into a sprawling sandbox, mapping the municipality street by street. Board games mechanized this history into a system of survival, where players close dimensional gates spawning across the grid. This immersion peaks in LARP events. Participants physically step into the roles of Miskatonic scholars, using the university's logic to decode artifacts and solve mysteries. We return to Arkham because it maps the exact point where human logic fails, a fictional municipality where the only thing inescapable is the collapse of our own certainty.